Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello world and welcome to Side Quests by Fun and Games Podcast. I'm your host, Jala-chan, she, her, also known as Jala-chan in places. You can find me anywhere I may be found at Jala-chan, including Jala-chan.place, where you can find my podcast, which is called Jala-chan's Place. What is JCP? Why, dear listener, I'm so glad you asked. It's a bi-weekly show where I handpick a friend or two to dig into one piece of media, such as a game, book, or movie, and one real-world topic, such as toxic masculinity, the internet and how it affects our sense of self, and much more. You can also catch me as a rotating host on DuckFeed's The Level podcast, a weekly video game roundtable show where we discuss what we've been playing, post a multiplayer question to listeners, and discuss gaming news. Today, I want to tell y'all about a JRPG called Lunar, Eternal Blue, also known as Lunar 2. Originally released stateside on the Sega CD in 1995, it saw a remake on the PlayStation in the US in 1998. The remake is called Lunar, Eternal Blue Complete. Working Designs was the company to port both Lunar games to the US, and while I do own the original Japanese versions, it's Victor Ireland's touch that was my primary experience of this series. That means, rather than a mostly serious fantasy story, I had the version where there are a lot of lighthearted jokes from NPCs, and by now extremely dated pop culture references that Zoomers would never understand. The gameplay of this game is standard JRPG fare with a couple of new twists, but nothing revolutionary. What really shines for me are the narrative, music, voice acting, and animated cutscenes. This is a game, but it's also a movie, but not in that Kojima kind of way. This was absolutely magical when it first released on Sega CD, and remained so on its remake. Mechanically speaking, this game features turn-based battles with overhead view traversal, but was notable for showing you the enemies on your dungeon map so you could either run away from or intentionally fight specific enemy types at your discretion. This also includes the ability to dash for short spans of time on the dungeon map screen. No battles occur on the overworld map. Your baby dragon companion Ruby surveys the battle but will also sometimes finish enemies off for you or wake up downed party members. Your battle position and movement rate matter. If you're attacking with a sword but are too far away, you lose the first round to walking towards your foes. Grouping your team together also allows you to do mass heals and protection spells to affect everybody, but that also means enemy attacks will hit the entire party. You often find yourself facing off against one or two stronger enemies surrounded by a horde of weaker ones, and you have to choose between focusing fire on the tougher monsters or knocking out all the weaklings before they get their hits in on your party. You also have light customization control of your party via equipable crests, which boost stats or attacks and make new spells and skills available. You can also set party members to AI presets or program in your strategy for faster battling. Lunar as an IP hit me at the tail end of middle school when my family moved across the country and I had to start fresh. My family was divided as my dad remained behind to sell our old house and my sister struck it out on her own, leaving me and my mom to live with my grandparents. I was new to the city and didn't have a regular living situation at home either, so these games filled my lonely hours with laughter, tears, and hope when I was mostly isolated and alone and in my most impressionable years. As such, it remains dear to my heart, and Lunar Eternal Blue is in my favorites list forever. But why do I love the sequel so much more than the original? Because this is, in fact, a sequel to Silver Star. Eternal Blue takes place 1,000 years after the story of Alex and Luna, and how the love of a goddess reborn into human form and her protector, the Dragon Master, transcended the power of the Magic Emperor and recalled the world from the brink of destruction. That was a moving story of love and humanity conquering all, but Lunar 2 has something else to offer, a redemption arc. Lunar 2 is the story of Lucia, an otherworldly girl left alone on the blue star by the goddess Althena untold ages before. Long ago, humans lived on the blue star in harmony with the dragons and the goddess. However, the dark god Zophar came and humanity was corrupted by greed and malice. They waged war on each other, and the planet was in peril. Althena and the dragons took a small contingent of humans still untouched by Zophar's will to the moon, Lunar, where Althena used her power to turn it into a vibrant land where the humans could begin anew. In order to do this, she had to lay waste to the blue star, which became a barren ball of ice. As time passed, the mortals of Lunar forgot all that had happened before, including Zophar, the war, and that they originally lived on the blue star. Lucia is asleep on the blue star, left behind by the goddess to guard the wasted planet, awaiting the day that the humans would return. However, her long slumber is disturbed by nightmares as the god of destruction returns. Lucia heads to the world of Lunar to find Althena. When she arrives, she is met by Hero, an intrepid archaeologist's grandson who often gets into trouble extracting treasures from old ruins. His grandfather saw something amiss in his spyglass at one of the old ruins, and so Gwyn and Hero head there to see what has happened, coming across Lucia in the process. Lucia, unable to sense the goddess's power, requests that Hero take her to Althena. Shortly thereafter, they encounter Zophar, who seals Lucia's power away. Determined to see her mission through, Lucia continues her search even in her weakened state. Hero, who is smitten with her at first sight, goes with her as he cannot let this wide-eyed, innocent, yet incredibly powerful, enigmatic girl leave alone. Along the way, they make many friends who join them, all of whom have their own motivations and dreams, which are addressed as the story continues. The most earth-shaking part for me was the return characters from the first game. And here's a quick spoiler wall, so if you haven't played and don't want to have the story spoiled, stop here and go track this game down. Unfortunately, it is not available on current-gen systems, and physical copies are exorbitantly priced. So if you want to play it now, it'll be via emulation. Okay, spoiler wall is over, so let me dig into what I love best about this game. Null, a white dragon who was just a baby in the first game, returns and now has a human form. He looks like a punk teenager and carries Alex's sword with him. He takes in young boys and looks after them in the ruins of Tabin's Peak, Tabin being an inventor from the first game. Despite being surrounded by people who love him, Null is extremely lonely as he forever misses Alex and Luna, both of whom died centuries ago. Yes, that's right. Luna, aka the goddess Althena's reborn human form, renounced her divinity to live as a mortal woman and eventually die so she could be with her love Alex. In a very moving scene, once Hero and Lucia come to the place the goddess is said to reside, Lucia finds a recording of Luna as an old woman telling Lucia about why she made the decision that she did, and asking Lucia to learn to trust the humans. This is something Lucia is not able to do at this time, and a whole lot more game has to happen thereafter, but it was such a poignant scene in that you see Luna as an elder and know that she is dead, and you also empathize with Lucia's utter heartbreak and sense of loss. The next gut punch for me was the return of Galleon, former magic emperor, now apparent pawn of Zophar, resurrected by the god to help him wreak havoc. Only that's not the whole story. Galleon sets Hero and the others back at every turn but never kills them. Late in the game, you discover that he put himself forward as a diversion to more or less buy the hero's time to get strong enough to fight Zophar. In your final battle, Hero says that Galleon let him win. Galleon watches the party as they leave to face off with Zophar, thinking of his friend Dine as he disappears into the wind. I have to give a shout out to John Truitt, the American voice actor for Galleon, who is phenomenal. The original Japanese voice is very deep and serious, but I love the superiority and sarcasm that Truitt's Galleon manifests. And in this particular scene, he ends up being so sincere, which comes off kind of like the rest of what he's been showing you in the first game, and everything was just a front. And I really liked that layering. The next gut punch is when Hero and the others face off against Zophar and Lucia is not ready to believe in her friends. She tries to summon the power of Althena for herself so she can destroy Zophar, but the god knows that she will not, because in order to do so, she would need to kill off the entire world of Lunar. She is captured, strung up as if on a cross, and Hero and company must go save her. The final gut punch for me was the first ending to the game. Yes, the first one. You finally find Lucia, and together fight Zophar and win after several battles. But then, Lucia leaves Hero to return to the Blue Star because she feels she must return to her duty. The credits roll and everything. So the very first time I played this, I thought it was really over, and that was the real ending, and I was totally crushed. A week of depression later, I booted the game up intending to replay the final fight like maybe I missed something, and at the title screen I saw epilogue and was immediately a mix of very happy and very, very frustrated because I thought I'd seen the actual ending already. Actually, the epilogue is intense and has several more hours of gameplay to it. By the time I watched the true final ending, I was breathless. I loved the original Lunar, but Eternal Blue has a whole-ass roller coaster embedded in its narrative. Silver Star Story Complete, the remake of the first game, has a massive number of changes from the original Sega CD version, but the remake of Eternal Blue was pretty well faithful to all the important things in the original game. So I feel conflicted about Silver Star's remake, but adore Eternal Blue's remake. The only trick is that in order to get the most out of Eternal Blue, you need to have played Silver Star, so the full impact can only be felt after you finish both games. I love this series, and I love Eternal Blue in particular, and if you've never played them, check out at least the animated cutscenes from the remakes and see what they're all about. Young and impressionable Kid Jala soaked this up. I would say these games left their mark on my personality forever. One of the magazine ads for Eternal Blue featured an image of the Blue Star with Lucia front and center on the black background of space with the words, "In the darkest hour, hope springs eternal." I still have a copy of that particular ad because it meant so much to me. We all need a little of that, right? In the darkest hour, hope springs eternal. Believe in yourself, believe in your loved ones, and live your life fully. That's what it's all about. Make the most of the time that you have. However much time that is. I hope you all enjoyed hearing about Lunar Eternal Blue. Thanks to Matt and Jeff for having me back again. Until next time, take care of yourself, remember to smile, and happy gaming!
Are you tired of watching your beloved characters being tortured by careless authors?
Are you sick of feeling like they could have swapped out all of the painful action and the plot would remain untouched? Subscribe to Books That Burn, the fortnightly book review podcast focusing on fictional depictions of trauma.
We assume that the characters' reactions are reasonable and focus on how badly or well they were served by their authors.
Join us for our minor character spotlights, main character discussions, and favorite non-traumatic things in the dark books we love.
Find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.